Welcome everybody to another pick a card reading. Today's pick a card reading is looking at what this particular person, the one that you're thinking about and you want this answer about, is feeling and thinking about you at the moment. So it may be a significant other, it may be a crush, it may be a friend, a work colleague, a family member, a neighbour, it could be anything. So I'm going to try and keep the messages from Spirit at a high level to cover off any type of relationship, but when particular energies really do come through, I will obviously talk about those and channel those to you. So with this particular reading, we're going to look at where that person is in their life at the moment, how they're feeling about themselves, because that often has an impact on how they view others, how they're viewing you at the moment, what they might want from you, the impact of others in the scenario potentially, and any other advice Spirit can give to get the best possible outcome in this relationship, or if what you're really looking for is just to understand a complex relationship, to give you that sort of advice and information so that you feel it's less perplexing. So as with all pick a card readings, it's important to tune into the right reading to go to get your messages. You may in fact want to ask about a couple of people, so you may want to tune into a couple of readings, or you may feel drawn to a couple because there's a little bit in each for you. What I really want to say when I'm talking about relationship-based readings in particular is that this is a reading for the collective, and so it may be that you go to the right pile and say 70% of what's in that is really relevant to you and 30% isn't. So really take what resonates to you. If something doesn't feel right or is particularly vexing, let it go. The point of this is to give you the information that does resonate that you can then work with this relationship, whatever it is. And again, if you feel I might have actually gone to the wrong reading, you may want to go back, reconsider and look at another if you feel like it isn't fitting with your situation because it's collective. But hopefully for most of you, you'll find the one reading that really has some messages for you about whatever this person is, whoever they are, and whatever the nature of the relationship is. To help you with that, pile 1 has a jade crystal, pile 2 has an amethyst crystal, and pile 3 has a clear quartz crystal. So for those of you that particularly tune into crystal energy, that may be helping to guide you to the right deck. When you know which deck or decks that you want to go to, the timestamps will be in the description box below. If you're not sure, take the time to pause the video and meditate. And when you do know which reading you want to go to, I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1. These two cards represent firstly where your person that you're asking about is in their life, what they're dealing with, because that gives us some context for how they relate and generally, and then also how they're perceiving you. And there's a couple of ways they could be perceiving you based on this particular card and where they are. So we'll start with that. This card comes when people are about to step into a position of higher responsibility in one way or another. This could be someone that you're working with who is moving into a more senior leadership role. It could be that it's your significant other and you're both about to step into being parents, for instance. So there's a higher degree of responsibility for those who are vulnerable and young and need to be nurtured. It could be somebody who is stepping up in some other way, in study or work in general or in a community environment, but they're not necessarily someone who feels 100% secure in doing it. This person is not the person who ends up in leadership because they want power or they want authority or they want status in any way. In fact, they seem to be quite self-effacing in many ways, potentially a little bit timid, but there's something in their life at the moment that is calling upon them to be braver and to take on this extra responsibility. I do think for many it will be around work, but it could be, that doesn't mean it isn't your potential significant other. It may be that it's somebody that you're with who is dealing with that and they're struggling with that a bit. And that's having an effect on what they're seeing in others and how they're viewing others around them in terms of the demands, I guess, that would be on them and also who they might feel a responsibility to look after. And that's what's interesting with the card for you, because this could be read either way. The Mend a Broken Heart Fairy card, usually comes to somebody, if we were doing a reading direct for you, it would be saying that you have gone through quite a bit. Maybe you've had a big disappointment in love. Maybe you've not got the dream job that you wanted. Something has not worked out in the way that you wanted it to, and you need nurturing and caring. So this could be a friend feeling that they need to help you at the moment with something. It could be, if it's in a work situation, it could be someone who's helping to coach and mentor and guide you, but they don't necessarily feel 100% up to the job, but they do care and they want to do it. There's a very caring energy here, and it could go both ways, because the other way that this could be read is that's what they're needing from you. They're needing from you the capacity to understand what they're going through, the support, the understanding that they are struggling with this. So it's not so much about mending a broken heart for them. It's more about giving them the courage and the sense of balance and self-confidence to move forward. So it could be either, I think, and so it'll depend. Different people who have come to this reading will have different relationship energies here. So it's either they feel a responsibility to you in some way, they want to help you, they want to get you to be happier and less devastated by whatever has occurred. So if something's occurred in your life and there is a friend or something like that around you, then that energy could fit. It could also fit with somebody who wants to be the new love of your life and can see that you had pain before and they're not feeling 100% sure how to reach you, how to become the next person in your life, because they're not the most naturally overt, go after it type person for a relationship. They're possibly, in that case, somebody who is more used to waiting for all the signals and signs, and maybe they're feeling that you are not in the space to give that, but they want to help you. They genuinely care about you. There is a lot of genuine caring here. And if any of you have come and you feel, I'm getting weird signals and maybe it isn't there, it's got something to do with how what they need from you that they feel not sure that they're getting, or what they feel they need to give to you and they're not sure how to do it. So let's look at some tarot, and let's ask first of all how they see you, a little bit more information about the sort of personality, the sort of person that they think you are, the sort of circumstances they think you're in, because it might help us work out whether they feel responsible for you in some way or whether they're needing support from you as they deal with this new responsibility. So they actually look up to you quite a bit, Pile 1. They see you as someone who really knows how to stand on their own 2 feet. So I do get a sense a lot of this is about them looking to you as someone who can help them and nurture them through a change in some way. They definitely think they see you as someone who is self-made, who is materially able to manifest what you need. There is a strong work sense around a lot of this. So if it is a relationship, like a love relationship, maybe there's a work connection. They see you as someone who knows how to deal with and transmute anxiety. So moving out of the anxiety of effectively the 9 of Swords because it's reversed. But but they do see that that doesn't mean that you are free of anxiety. Like it's like they know that you can deal with it. They know that you're very strong, you're very grounded, you're very stable. But that doesn't mean that they dismiss what you're going through. So for those where they're seeing you dealing with a broken heart, they do see you as someone who can move through that, who can regain their sense of self and so forth. So they have a lot of respect for you, a lot of really strong respect for you. And they are, in that case, seeing what you're going through, but they do see you as moving through that. And possibly what's happening, if that's the case, if you're getting strange signals or messages from them, is that they're not sure if they can help you. It may be that you've asked for their help in some way and it's not really coming through because they're not sure what direction to go in, how to do that, how to be the person that you need them to be at the moment to help around that. Or as I say, if they are romantically interested in you and they want to make that connection, they see that you've gone through something and they're not really sure because they really do look up to you. They definitely think it's a very strong spiritual connection, regardless of whatever your relationship is, whatever you've come to this about. They see a real balance and a real spiritual connection with you, and they think you're very balanced and very spiritually connected. In fact, some of them may have been used to relying on you for the wisdom. It's like a role reversal is happening at this point for some who've come to this reading, where you need something and they are not sure that they're up to it because they look so much up to you as being the person who can mend the issues, who can fix the issues and understand them and bring them into perspective. They definitely think that you're highly spiritually connected. They think that you understand the mysteries of the world, and that's part of the reason that you can move through and transmute anxiety. You don't live too much in your head. Now, the interesting thing about that is that suggests to me maybe they do. Maybe one of the things that this other person is dealing with at the moment, Pawan, is that they are used to thinking things through. Now, and somebody who is more shy and retiring, which is a little bit of this energy here, often does live in their head, and they admire the fact that you don't. You look like you're someone who gets your inspiration and your wisdom intuitively, and you act on it and you bring things into being. I feel like for many of you, this is, as I say, it's an admiration, and it's a feeling of how can they meet your level, how can they step up to what they need to do, either to be in a relationship with you or to make you proud in some way. I think they would like to make you proud because they just see you as being this level above them, and yet something in their life is shifting this. Something in their life means that they could either level up to where they see you, or even potentially in work or something move ahead of you. Maybe they don't feel that they should, and yet that is happening. Something is happening like that for them. They are leveling up at the moment. And whether part of that is connecting to helping you if you've got issues, like it's finally in a friendship, they're going to be the one who gets to support you. Maybe the way the friendship's always been is you've supported them. Or whether it's, as I say, something in a workplace, this deep admiration that they have. They definitely see you as someone who can move through pain much better than they expect they can. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean they can't and they couldn't, in fact, follow your example, but they're not confident. Whatever this is about, they're not confident, Pile 1. And as I say, there's a deep admiration. And sometimes for people who have a deep admiration but they're shy, they're not even going to know really how to express it. If you are finding confusing communication or a lack of communication sometimes, or they don't seem to get what you're saying, because sometimes maybe they don't. Sometimes maybe the wires, the circuitry gets a little bit crossed because you're working on such an intuitive level, and they're still trying to struggle to see what this means in reality. They're very practical people. They're very grounded sort of people on that level. And as I say, they live in their head and they live in the material, and you live more in the spiritual. Well, that's how they see you. So they don't fully understand what the magic is that you have. So given that, let's ask Tarot for a little bit more information about what they want from you at the moment, because it does feel like they want something that will make them either be able to step into their own power or to be closer to you or to understand you better. So let's ask Tarot for a little bit more information about that. Okay, so I do think many who have come to this, there is something probably that is romantic around this. Even if it's in a workplace, I think that many of the people who've come here, your other person is looking for the security of a proper emotional connection. So this alchemy card fitting with the star, they see a lot of optimism. They think that it would be an amazing relationship to be in, or if you are in one, they want you to help ground it and make it feel more secure because they really do believe in it. But with two princesses, which is like two pages, it's kind of at its beginning. They want to ground it, and particularly with the Four of Pentacles, they do like to have stability and security. If they're going to, so if this is about stepping to the next level of a relationship, they want to know there's security with it. And if they are picking up that you've been disappointed before, they want to know that you feel committed to that. So I think there is a strong thing around this, around a relationship that could be moving to the next level. And they're unsure, and they're really wanting to follow your lead. They dramatise things majorly in their head because they live in their head. This is what happens with people who live in their head, and I do this a bit, so I know. You can worry for the Olympics, quite frankly, when you live in your head. You can imagine all sorts of things that don't actually ever happen. So being aware of that, because you live more in your spirit and you're more direct with channeling energy from the universe, you're not as likely to worry as they are, which doesn't mean you'll never worry, but you're not as likely to. And you may not be fully understanding, Pile 1, how much security and affirmation they may need. And particularly if you have suffered before, it might be, well, I'm dealing with my own stuff. How can I make them feel better? But there is a real potential around this. So I do think for many of you, this person wants to have a secure and stable relationship with you. They see a lot of potential, and I think they even do see that they could reach your level, but at the moment they don't feel they have. They need to follow your lead. Now, if this isn't a romantic relationship, then there's still something about security. There's still something about helping them or them helping you in relation to feeling more secure and more stable within the world. It could be something like a new job. They could be needing help around a new job, as I said, if they were stepping up. And this card sometimes does pick that sort of thing up. Then they're not feeling as confident about it as they could. And they think they want to follow your example if that's the case. And they want your counsel. So for some of you, this is a friendship or a work colleague or something like that where they need something from you. And maybe they just, as I say, they're a bit in awe of you. So they're not sure how to really ask for that. So lastly with the tarot, I want to ask, what might other people, if there's any other influence around this, you need to be aware of that other people around this interaction. Okay, so I do think that in some of these cases, there's other people around that are influencing either you or the other person and how this dynamic is operating. And it's interesting that we've got the Ace of Talismans or Ace of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles both reversed here, and then the card of competition in the middle. For some, I'm getting why they're shy and wondering whether they can be with you is that they're wondering if you've got over somebody in the past. That is happening for some, I'm getting. So there's that competition thing. For others, it's around competition potentially in the workplace. So they're moving to another level. They're not really sure how to deal with that, and where you sit in that, whether you're at the level they're moving to or beneath that or above it. They are trying to work out where they sit in the hierarchy. And there are people who are giving an indication that something may not be as secure as it could be. So it could be family influences for some of my pile 1. Your family or their family may not be backing their judgment on this. You may have literally broken up from a very long-term relationship recently, and it's one of the reasons why they're sort of concerned about, do you want a longer-term relationship? There's something about a material basis that didn't work out, and there's a competitive energy or an energy that needs courage. And I think that's the overarching sense around all of this, pile 1. They need courage that at the moment they don't really have. So in whatever scenario it is, whether it's to help you, whether it's to step up, whether it's to make a offer to you emotionally or in some other way, there is an issue around how they perceive you in terms of your ability, skills relative to theirs, and your own relationship history potentially, and whether or not you are on the same page as them. So let's ask Spirit for a little bit of elemental energy advice about how to work with this. And this will depend obviously on whether you do want to have what it appears that they want to have from you, or whether you can help them if they're looking for your counsel and guidance. But let's just ask Spirit from your perspective, what is the best sort of energy and approach to look at this to bring about the best relationship between the two of you? Okay, so I think the fact that we've got electricity, which to me always comes across as electric, telepathic, psychic, spiritual sort of energy, that's how this card always talks to me when it comes out. I think that's you, and I think in fact the voice is you as well too. I think what it's saying is that you are the one who will have the most direct connection to spirit, to understanding where this is, even from the point of view of having seen this reading and therefore being able to think about it from that perspective. You will need to say or do something. You will need to voice what you want. This person will not will not be likely to be the person who really makes the offer or who is clear. You will need to be clear because that's what they're looking for from you. And it may be a big ask if you've been through a lot. And certainly if you've been through a lot and you're not ready yet to commit to something, then you can actually talk about that. You can say, I'm not ready to commit to this. Or if it's around a workplace and they need your help and your mentoring, you could say, maybe not at this time because I'm dealing with my own stuff. But when I'm feeling more settled, then maybe I can help you. But you can also, with that and with your belief, and because of how much they value your opinion, you can also voice your confidence in them. If it is around a work situation, if it's a friend who is really questioning whether they have the ability for something, your view, your voice, your input to this will be really important to making them feel better. So you really do carry quite a bit on your shoulders with this, I think, pile one. But it's a nice energy. It's not, if there's any competition or other issues, it's other people around it. It's not between you and this person. Even if it appears like that's going on, that's probably just energy from others coming in. So I want to have a look at some astrology energy. And what I'm looking at here is the energy of the two of you as a relationship. And it doesn't have to be a love relationship. It's any kind of relationship. If you know much about astrology, you'll know that an astrologer can take your natal chart and the natal chart of another person who's, a potential lover or a family member or a work colleague or whatever it might be, and do what they call a composite chart. And it's like the personality and energy and spiritual center of the relationship as opposed to each of you as individuals. So that's the perspective I'm asking Spirit to give me for some cards, astrological cards, to give me a sense about what is the composite of your two energies in this relationship. Okay. So first I'm going to go to the middle one, fourth house here. I do think there is something here that is about stability and about commitment. So again, I come back to the feeling that many of the people who've come to this reading, it's about a relationship and the potential for a relationship of a romantic partner, spouse type of situation. There is something about this relationship gets both of you at your core, and at a very, very, very basic level, there is a sense of shared values and a sense of a shared pathway, because the fourth house is who we are really at our base. It's our base personality. So the fact that it's even more than our sun signs, it is really who we are when we're at home. So the fact that that's come up in composite energy suggests that you feel very at home together, that there is a real click in some way, in whatever way this relationship works out. The planet that rules the fourth house is the moon, so it also connects on psychic connections. So whether or not this person realizes it, they're probably psychically connecting to you too. I just think that they don't see themselves in that light, whereas I think that you understand that ability that you have. And the ruling sign is Cancer, so there's a protective energy, which is kind of what I felt right from the beginning here. I think you both probably protect each other in many ways. We've got the first quarter moon, so it says things are picking up speed and there is a need to make some decisions. And that's not always easy. So I think that you will find that you have a little bit more pressure, subtle or not, from this person to make decisions or to communicate. That's why it's important for you to use your voice. You can set the pattern of the timing, because otherwise the timing is going to take its own life on. But you have that capacity because of the high regard in which you're held by this person. We also have the second house. That can be around making money, possessions, what we value. I think it is pointing to the fact that some of you, again, it may be around business or work that you've met, but I don't think that's necessarily the key part of the relationship. The planet that rules this is Venus, so again, I get a sense of love around it. So this is around what you value, and I think there is a very strong connection between you and what you value. That's a really nice composite energy as well too. I don't feel like this is a bad relationship. If it's tricky at the moment, it's about a lack of communication due to this person not feeling sure, either of themselves or whether you're ready to have the conversation. So I'm going to finish up with an oracle that has unspoken words, and it tends to be, sometimes it has timing as well, but it tends to be a little bit slanted towards love relationships, but you can extrapolate more generally, though I do think with many this is about a love relationship. So let's see what is unspoken by this person in relation to you at the moment. Okay, so that's a pretty strong confirmation of what we're talking about. Firstly, I wish I could bring myself to talk to you. They won't. They can't initiate it. Doesn't mean they won't talk with you when you talk, but they need you to initiate. They are not feeling confident. I'm waiting for you. They're waiting for you. And whether, as I say, it's because they're just naturally shy, or whether it's because they feel like you've been through a lot and they can't pressure you, they're waiting for you to set the timing, which is good around the fact that you are the one who can initiate when to discuss things, and deals a bit with that sense of the first quarter urgency. And then I'm coming home. I think that's about being with you in whatever form this relationship is like coming home. They do recognise that there is a real sense of safety, security, warmth, alignment, connection, alchemy between you. So this person feels, I think, quite strongly about you in whatever form this relationship is. I do think with many of you it is about a romantic relationship, but if it's a parent with a child, if it's a co-worker, if it's any of those sort of things, there is a strong admiration, there is a need for you to be the leader in it, but there is a real sense that this is a very valuable relationship, and one that they really want to have in whatever form it is, and one that will really help them in their self-esteem, which I think does need some work, pile one. So I'm pretty optimistic looking at this. I think that this relationship is, whatever it is a very positive one, and I think mutually healing, even though I think you have to take the lead. I think there's something in the fact that this person is, once you connect with this person in whatever way it is, they're very committed, they're very loyal. You won't have to worry about that. And if you've dealt with something before that wasn't, then that's not what this relationship is. So I think there's a lot of positivity here for both of you, for the other person in feeling more confident, for you and feeling more secure, and for both of you feeling like you've come home. So I'm optimistic for you. I hope that that resonates, because it's such a nice message. And I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Beyond that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2. These cards were under the crystal that you chose, and the first one represents the sort of energy that's going on in the life of this other person at the moment, so that we get a sense of how that could be impacting how they view you and how they feel about you. And then this is how they perceive you at the moment, or in what context they perceive you. So I do think there's a lot in this that's around love relationships. It could also be friendships or at work, but I think a lot of it's going to be around love, or around at least very kind of high profile or very visible relationships in some way. Because why I say that is that they're coming up with Marie Masquerade, and that's a bit like Marie Antoinette. The energy of this card is around glamour, around a high degree of attractiveness, around gossip sometimes. Sometimes this sort of energy comes up when someone is in the public eye in some way, or at least within your friendship or work circle. There is a certain amount of glamour or intrigue around them, and they're aware of it, and they like to use that energy. They probably cultivate it to some extent, and they also like gossip and intrigue and so forth as well. I think that for the most part, this person holds themselves a little bit above others, and sees themselves as an observer and a chronicler of life, as well as a participant. They just have a sense of sort of moving through things like a social butterfly, but also watching them with a great degree of interest. And I think they have a lot of interest in you because they see you as unusual or different to what they're used to in their social circle or their work circle. So I'm going to talk first around relationship and then more generally. This card over here is called Strange Valentine, and it is about when love and attraction comes in a form that they don't normally think would be their type or their social level or whatever it might be. You are intriguing as hell to this person. They're really watching you, but it's because you're sort of very different to them. So it's like maybe they're the social butterfly, as I say. They're the sort of life of a party, and you're someone who's sort of quiet, maybe doesn't even go to parties that often, or they're part of a particular sort of social circle that is into certain things that are very different to what you do. And or there could be a very different cultural connection. There could be a different idea about what they look for. Like they may have thought, I need to look for someone who is the second part of a power couple because I want to be in a power couple. Or they might have thought my significant other would look like X, Y, and Z. You don't for some reason, and that doesn't mean that they don't find you attractive. They find you very attractive, but they are intrigued by you because you're different to what they expect, and the way that you act is different to what they expect. So they're fascinated by you, but because they're so used to playing in this field of glamour and almost the look of relationships rather than the connection with relationships, you may feel a little bit like, can I even fit into this world? Am I really welcome here? Why are they interested in me? But they are. So if it's around love, it's definitely in that kind of field, and we'll see more with the tarot. If it's in work or family or something like that, then they are someone who is used to being the center of attention, and you are kind of the opposite of it. So there's sort of like a oil and water thing operating there. If it's not in a love relationship where opposites attract, then they don't fully understand you. You really fascinate them, but they don't fully get you. And so some of what they do, sometimes at its worst, it could be friendships where people are a little bit excluding of you or put you down. Like that's at its worst. I don't think that's going to be happening a lot, but it could be happening with this energy if it's not around love. It could if it's around friendship. There's a sort of, I'll let you be in my circle, but you're not quite right for my circle sort of feeling around it. And it's really important for you to know that a lot of what here, if that's the case, is artifice. It's not necessarily that they are in any sense better than you or anything like that. And you really need to be in the driver's seat about deciding whether or not this is someone that you want to be around. But I think for many, this is the fascination of the attraction of opposites. And they are used to being with people like themselves. They are used to, and it could be gossip around some of this as well too. They could be highly influenced by what their friends think. And we will get to a part in the tarot where we're looking about whether other people are involved in this. But given that, let's see how they really see you. If they see you as so different to them, let's ask Spirit through the tarot for what sort of person do they think you are? What is it that's really intriguing and drawing them in? Okay. So they see you as having a high degree of creative energy and the stick-attedness to see things through. In fact, I think one of the things they think about you compared to themselves is that you don't let go of things easily. They feel a little bit, as I say, like a social butterfly. Like they would normally go, well, I'm around for as long as this works and then I'm moving on. They see you as someone who has far more capacity to see things through. If this is a friendship or a work thing, they see you as someone very, very capable of taking something from its early ideas through to completion. And I think that fascinates them. I think there may be a little bit more of a dilettante. They move around energies and it's more about the appearance and the outcome. They see you as really sticking at things, but not being stuck, interestingly enough. They also see you as being able to move on when things aren't working. So I think that they see you as someone who wouldn't necessarily fall for their game. And I think that's a little bit strange for them. They're used to that. So you would stick with something while you saw that it was worthwhile and you were prepared to put the energy into it. But you're not going to be loyal to something unless it is worthwhile. You don't change easily and you only change on a piece-by-piece level, whereas they're likely to kind of flounce off, I think, if something doesn't quite work the way that they want. So that intrigues them. They're like, how do you make your decision? I think they're going, how do you make your decision about what's worthwhile to continue with? They see that you're far more balanced than they are on that level. They understand that I think they think you've got some sort of a secret channel to the universe and that you really do know where to put your energy and you know when to do major change and when to really stick at something and see it through. So I think they see you, I think sublimating all of this, if this is around a romantic attraction, and I think for many it is, firstly, they're very attracted to you physically. They find you really fascinating and attractive on that level, but they're not sure about whether they can get to the point of manifesting that with you because I think they think you wouldn't really approve of them in some way. And I think that when it came to it, they think even if there's this attraction, that you will make the decision and move away because you won't think it's worth it. Like, I think underneath all of this, there is an insecurity. So they are used to the surface and dealing with people on the surface, and they see there's great depth to you, and they're not really sure that they can be as deep. Now, this doesn't mean they can't be pile 2. This is not saying that they are necessarily just complete social butterflies and nothing else, but it's like they haven't learnt how to do that. The social world they've been in hasn't let them learn how to do that. So I think that oddly enough, even though it might look like to the rest of the people around this that you are the unusual one and they're the one who's really confident, it's really the other way around. And they know that. And they if they're going to make this step towards you, they want to think it's going to last, but they're not sure if it's going to at the moment. And I guess you've got to be sure whether you want it to be something that lasts as well too, before you might give them indications one way or the other. So, given that, what do they want from you? Okay. So the interesting thing around these cards, pile 2, is that it's odd to see them in what somebody might want. I do wonder, because we've got the 3 of Swords here and then the 10 of Wands, I wonder whether this is saying that for some of you, you're with someone else at the moment and they want you to leave that person. They're not sure if you will. That may be part of what they're seeing here, that maybe they feel they would be better for you than somebody else in some cases, even if they're not entirely sure that they're going to be the one you'd want to stick with long term. But I think that they do want you potentially to separate from either a social group or a person that you're with, something like that. There's something like that they want from you. And they want a kind of pragmatic, they want your pragmatism. There's a pragmatism you have that they don't have. They want less of the glamour and more of substance, I think, and you represent that to them in a very real way. But they want to be able to open the door, not close the door. It's interesting with the universe reversed. Normally that just means a cycle is not finishing, when it maybe should finish. But I think because it's with the Ace of Wands there, I think it's sort of saying they want to keep that door open. It's like they want you to be open to the concept of being with them, but that requires other decisions to be made. And they want you to not see them as not a good investment. I think they feel that you might see them as not a good investment, like that if you put energy into that, it's not going to land in some way. They want you to move away from that sense. They also want you to know something. So it could be that either it's knowing them better and really understanding who they are as opposed to what the image is around them, or it might be that they are aware of something more generally going on in your social circle or even in your relationship that they want you to know. I'm getting some may be feeling that even if they're not 100% confident they're the perfect person for you, even though I think they would like to be, they think you're with someone who isn't worthy of you as well. So that could be going on for some. So if this is not romantic, then they want you to understand something about the environment that it's in. It's like there you feel it's almost like you're, instead of being Marie Antoinette, it's almost like it's Machiavelli. It's someone who understands the politics and the games that are going on, say, in a work environment, and you're more true to things and more loyal to things, and they want you to almost wise up a bit and separate from what isn't working for you. So it's not a bad energy, and it's not necessarily that they're right or wrong if that's the case. It's just getting the balance right. But they want something to come out. So let's see what Spirit has to say about other people around this. We'll just pull 3 cards to get a sense of the energy of other people around this relationship. Okay, again, I'm getting the feeling that for many of you, you may be with someone else. And this is a fascinating attraction and they're fascinated with you, but it looks as though there's someone else around who there's some anxiety about standing on your own with a different love relationship. This could be a classic love triangle, actually. You could be the center of attention for 2 people at this point in time. and they're aware of it and they want to draw you in with their glamour, but they're not entirely sure if they're your long-term choice because there seems to be something else around. But this other person is more confident. This other person stands more on their own 2 feet, and so therefore is not as anxious about it. Maybe they feel like a better fit. Maybe this is just someone who's intrigued you and flattered you and you're not really sure what's going on because they're so different to you. And that could well be your decision in the end. But there's definitely another relationship around. It may, and if it's not someone you're with, it may be someone in their social circle that they know is also interested in you. There is something in here that they want you to know so that you probably connect more with them, but they're also a bit worried about you knowing it because maybe you won't connect more with them. And if this is in a workplace, then it's some other work opportunity that could be coming to you, and maybe that you could be more independent and they don't necessarily want you to go from where it is. So this is quite complex, pile 2, I think. So let's have a look at what Spirit would say to you, advice just for you around how, on a sort of elemental level, to deal with this energy, because it's like you're the object of fascination, and there's something a little bit possessive about this, and it's whether or not it's possessive that would suit you or not. So let's ask Spirit's advice around sort of the energy you should bring to this. Okay, so Spirit is saying that you actually have quite a lot of magic, quite a lot of capacity to manifest. Yeah, that's maybe one of the fundamental differences between the two of you. There's more heft to what you do potentially than this other person. This person is more glamorous and fey almost. You're more like a magician. So that's part of what's probably going on here. There's also probably a recognition of a power issue operating as well, something that's intriguing them on that level. But certainly Spirit is saying that you have the magic within to bring out what you need to know and to make the decision. There is a new beginning for you. What I'm not sure at looking at this, because I think it will depend from person to person coming to this reading, whether that new beginning is with this person or whether it is with someone else. But whatever it is, you have an opportunity that is new, and Spirit is saying, look within, look to what feels right to you on all levels, look for signs, all of those sorts of things, because your own magic will get you through this. You don't, for some of you, I feel like this is almost like a spider web you could get caught in, and not necessarily that the person means ill, but it's like part of this choice is about you making the decision and you understanding it and looking at the information rather than being intrigued or even flattered by the intrigue that the person has for you. So let's have a look at the astrological energy between you. And what I'm going to do here is that if you know anything about astrology, you may know that if you have your natal chart and the other person's natal chart, then an astrologer can do a thing called a composite chart. And it's like the personality, energy, spiritual, essence of the relationship as opposed to either of the individuals. It's the alchemy, it's the connection of the two. And we have the alchemy card over here, so that's temperance, but it's also really shows the importance of the alchemy here. So let's have a look at what that says, because it might give you a little bit of an understanding about if the choice was this person, for instance, or if it's around your work or whatever, if you're aligned with this person, or even someone in your family, if you're aligned with them in some sort of family dispute where there's someone else involved. What is the composite energy between you? Okay, so firstly we've got air, so there's a meeting of the minds. Beyond everything, no matter how different the two of you seem, there is a meeting of the minds between you. There's probably actually really good communication, and it may not necessarily always be saying what it needs to say, but there is good communication. There's probably banter and wit between you. There's probably, as I say, a meeting of the minds, and so that's the level on which you're similar, even if other things in your life are different. It could be that either you or the other person is Gemini, Libra or Aquarius, either Sun, Moon, Ascendant or many planets in that, or just in air signs in general. So I think that's part of this. It's part of a meeting of the minds. There is potentially a work thing here. So for some of you, this could be around a workplace because the 6th house often governs your day-to-day work. If it's not, it's also about your service to others. So I think that's saying that part of what might be different about you is that you're more focused on what you're doing in the world and serving in the world, which is why you have the stronger magic energy around you. Whereas I think they at the moment have been more focused on how they look in the world. So that may be part of it. It may be that in fact you're drawn a little bit more into how to open your magic up and understand maybe some of the politics of the world in a way by connecting with them, and they're able to more serve a purpose rather than just be a really good game player. They are actually someone who can do something of more note and more worth, because I think they do look up to that in you. So there's something there around that if it isn't in the workplace. And again, the planet for the sixth house is Mercury, so it's again around communication. The communication between you is very strong. Then we have the seventh house. That can be partnerships of any type. So work relationships, love relationships, anything. It's ruled by the planet Venus, so that's a good energy between you. So in combination, this would say to me that there is a genuine sense of connectedness. There is a genuine possibility of having a similar cause and working together in some way. And there's amazing communication between you. The question may be how much the heart is activated. So let's finish off with an oracle that has usually words that aren't spoken. Sometimes it picks up timing as well. But I just want to see what is unspoken by this person to you at the moment that might give us a little bit more information around this for you. Oh, okay. So I shuffled when I got one that just didn't make any sense with this to get the second one, because the one that sort of was coming up didn't seem to resonate. Sometimes that happens, so that was a slight pause there. But the ones that have come up beyond that very much connect in here. So they're watching this. Right from the beginning, I felt those eyes watching. They're watching this. You are intriguing to them. You are different, but they're waiting for you. And I do think it might be because there's someone else around you, and they're trying to decide whether or not when you might be ready to connect with them, to know the truth, if there's something that you need to know, or just to make the decision. Just because you are not giving them the decision at the moment. So they're waiting for that. They want you to take a leap of faith. They want you to choose them. They want you to side with them, whatever it might be. And they're saying they're nothing like you. They never will be. So I think it's interesting because they're not really like you either, or at least in the way that they operate at the moment, they're not like you. It doesn't mean they may not be in actual fact. And so it might be that they found in you someone that they more really resonate with. But they're definitely saying that someone else in this scenario, pile 2, is not, they don't think is the right person for you, or they don't think it's the right side to be on if it's around work or a family dispute or something like that. So this is a complex relationship. There's a lot of promise to it potentially, but I'm saying potentially because I think really this comes down to you and you deciding what you want. And Spirit has said you have the magic to make the decision and to move forward in the way that you want. They are probably intriguing to you as well too, and they are glamorous in some way. But it does look to me like you have another option. It's either, or you're getting over another option and maybe they looked a bit too much like them and you don't want another thing again. There's somebody else in the mix either right now or really coming up soon that's going to throw everything up in the air. But I think it's someone in most cases that is either been in your life or is in your life now, because it feels like that's what's kind of putting the brakes on it for them, and they're waiting to get more of an indication from you. So, pile 2, I hope that makes sense for you. I hope it resonates to this relationship that you've come here about, and I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you have any comments about this, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Beyond that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. These 2 cards were under the crystal that you chose, and they represent firstly the emotional and life situation that this other person is in, and then also how they perceive you. This is a very interesting 2 cards, I have to say, and they could pick up a number of different types of relationships. The first most obvious one with this card is about missing someone deeply. So I think for many who have come here, this is an ex of yours. It's someone who potentially is still around your life in some way, someone who broke up with you either by their own choice or by yours, and they are missing you a great deal. They're thinking about you a great deal, and you're picking it up because you have clairvoyant ability and a kind of telepathic connection with the person, and they very much see you as that. So there is a part of them almost, I would say that if this resonates, and this is somebody who was an ex of yours, when you were together, you probably had a kind of telepathy, you shared dreams. There was probably a very strong, almost twin flame or soul twin type relationship feeling to it. But for some reason, you're not together at the moment, whether by either of your choice or by other circumstances. And if that's the case, then they see you as someone who can maintain the connection, or they can connect through to on a psychic level. And I'll get back to that a little bit more later. But they're certainly missing you, wanting you around. And if you are still in a relationship with you, then they feel somehow disconnected from you, even though you're there. So it's like they feel like they have a ghost of a relationship rather than the actual relationship. For some, I'm getting that's because of they see you as this clairvoyant. They see you as someone who is very a psychic, spiritual person. It may be for some, they feel that you are always there for everybody else, and everybody else is calling on you all the time, and they don't get to see you as much as they want. So there could be something like that, because they see you as someone incredibly spiritually dialed in, and this matters in some way. Now, if it isn't your ex, it may be a friend or a colleague who is going through a loss of some sort, and they see you as someone who can help connect to that. On a very literal level, it could be someone in your life who's lost someone who's passed over, and they think you may be able to connect them to that energy if they literally see you as a medium, for instance. Or it could be a friend in your friendship circle or a colleague at work or something like that who sees you as being very wise in helping them deal with a loss on some level. So it's either you are the loss and they want to reconnect, and they're relying on your telepathy to feel that and understand that, or you are someone who represents to them a conduit to something that they've lost, or a wisdom in how to deal with something that they've lost. So let's have a look at a little bit more information using tarot about how they see you. It might help us work out whether it's one of those things or whether it's a combination of all of those for whoever's come to this reading. There's a very, very strong sort of psychic, spiritual connection energy around this, I have to say. Okay. I do think in most cases, and I will get to the others, but I think in most cases this is likely to be an ex, and they really do miss you. They feel they were really unfair and did something wrong that they're ashamed of, and so it's impacting how you're viewing them. Or they feel that you are being cold and distant to them, given how extraordinarily strong they feel the connection is. And that doesn't mean that you have to be with them if you've chosen not to be. They do see you as someone who's standing apart, someone who, maybe even someone who doesn't get in relationships a lot. So this could be connecting to the sense that they have that you're always there for others. So it's like even in a relationship, if you are together, you're kind of not there in a way, because you're always being drawn upon for other sort of dramas around you. And they feel as though the emotional connection is being shut off in some way. They do think you're the one who has the choice about this, and they feel very much at your behest. They feel very much as though what you decide is going to be what matters here, and they feel a little bit helpless in it, I have to say. But they still think there's a possibility of a choice with you, but they see you as someone who is very separate. So some of you, you're still having contact with, and they're still in your orbit in some way, and that's because they still want the connection. Where that doesn't resonate, then they're seeing you as someone who can stand more on your own, and maybe they can't. And so they really would like to be able to be like you. But there's a part of them, if that's the case, that they feel like your connection to others is too transpersonal in a way. That's why I sense that for many, it could be that they see you as someone who's there for the world, but not for the closest person to you. Maybe they even see you as someone who doesn't get the emotional support from others because you're always there. There could be a kind of protective thing going on here. If they've felt emotional loss more recently, they maybe understand or feel for you if you're someone who is always alone but is always helping others. So it depends on which of these things connect, but there's something about their current scenario, if it's not about you, that is making them look to you as someone who might have a similar pain and who is not necessarily getting the reciprocated support from others that you deserve. Yes, so and the other thing that they're getting, I think, is that you can take things from the sort of other world, the emotional world, the other sort of frequencies, and bring them into something that is in the material world. So again, that's that psychic energy. So let's see what they want from you. If they see you this way, what do they want from you? Okay, so certainly for those where this is an ex, they want you to reconnect. They think that you're suppressing the passion between you. They're thinking that you're hiding away a bit too much for some reason. They want to turn this energy around to being more together rather than separate, and they want to reignite the sort of passion in you. They know that there's something that's occurred around this. Maybe it's even something that's occurred beyond both your choices. As I say, maybe you've been separated by having to move for work or something like that. They know that there is other things, fate involved in this in some way, or other circumstances that are impinging on it, but they do want to reignite that, and they have a lot of hope still. So if this is an ex and you don't want to be with them anymore, then they are really still holding a candle for you, literally, and it's not necessary. There's a part of them that knows that it's out of their control, so they want you to make a decision and maybe sort of come out from being away. So this could be a relationship where you've separated for a period of time because you've said you want your space, and they're going along with it, but they really hope that you'll come out of it soon. For those where that isn't the case, then they want you to focus more on you. They see you as being this very powerful person, but you're suppressing that power and you're suppressing your own outcomes for the sake of others. They also want you to give them back a sense of hope. So I do think for some this is literally that you may be a medium or something like that. They're seeing you as someone who can maybe connect them with someone that's passed on. So it's all of those things right from the beginning. It just depends on why you've come to this reading. So let's look at what impact others might be having on this. I just want to pull 3 cards just to see whether others are impacting this scenario, and if so, in what way. All right, so firstly, I think for those that they're separated from you, then I think that there could be other options for you. I don't know that they're necessarily right, to be honest. I think they may think that you're seeing someone else and so it's all over, but I'm not sure that you actually are, or if you are, whether you're committed to that other person. They're just worried about that. Doesn't necessarily mean you could be not committed to that person and still not want to be back with them. But I don't know. I think they think that something new might be in your life, and I'm not sure that it is. If it is, then I'm not sure that you're going to stay committed to it. There's definitely psychic energy coming to you as well. So there's a psychic connection either with them or with others, and you're getting downloaded a lot from spirit. In fact, I get this feeling with this. I get a literal feeling in my head. It's almost like having a headache. I mean, it's not actually a headache, but it feels a bit like that. It's like so much information comes to you. You are so open. Your channel is so open. You may actually need to get some boundary stuff around this. This could be showing in the material world an issue that you have more generally. I'm getting that for some of you, you are so open spiritually that your boundaries are not good, and it's partly how you end up with these almost obsessive or clingy sort of relationships around you. They're there to show you that you're too open in a way, so there's too much coming through. So I do think for some of you, maybe look at spiritual protection exercises and boundaries and so forth. So let's ask Spirit for what elemental energy you should use, particularly that I think some of you are too open at the moment. Whether they realise that or think that's another matter, but it's something for you to think about. So let's ask Spirit what elemental energy could be helpful for you around this relationship in whatever form it is. Okay, so we've got cave. So yes, Spirit is definitely saying there is something about this connection, and it may be one of many if you are a medium, or it may be one of many if you're in a workplace and you're always supporting people, or it may be an ex, or even a relationship that you're in that you're not really feeling that you want to stay in, or that you're being drawn in other directions. You need some time out. There's too much energy coming into you. Far too much energy. You'll burn out if you don't watch it. So you need to give yourself that space. You need to find a cave. You need to put those boundaries, and you need to give this time. If this is someone clinging to you and you don't want them, and I think for some of you this is the case, over time this will disconnect, particularly if you put up some boundaries around your energy, because they will feel that on some level. I think there was a genuine psychic connection between you and this person, and I think they will feel it as well too. So if you're trying to detach from somebody who's too clingy, then giving yourself space and time will do it. Beyond that, if it's around somebody who's needing your help, it may simply be saying, give it some time, give them the help that they need, but keep your boundaries. They will work through this and they will move on. So let's have a look at the astrological energy around this. And what I'm doing with this is, if you had your natal chart and the natal chart of this other person, an astrologer could put them together in what they call a composite chart, and it's like the natal chart of the relationship. It's like the personality, spiritual essence and so forth of how you relate, as opposed to either of you as individuals. So I'm asking Spirit now to give me some indication with an astrology deck about the energy that would be in that composite chart. What is the energy of this relationship? Okay, so firstly we have water. So there is a lot of emotional energy associated with this. So I do think, as I say right from the beginning, that many of you, this is around a personal relationship, and quite likely to be an ex or someone that you're moving away from or not connecting with as much as you used to. It could, of course, also be the emotion around someone who's grieving, who is coming to you as a medium or someone to help them with wisdom. But there's a lot of emotion around it, and be aware of that. That's one of the other reasons why it's important to get the boundaries. The signs that are water are Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces, so you or the other person may have that strongly. You don't have to. It could just be that energy between you. It's about fluidity. It's about change. I think that's picking up again with time. Things change. I always think about water as being such a powerful change agent, but kind of a slow change agent. If you think about water over rocks, if you think about how they can change the pebbles and the rocks under a stream, but it takes a long time of this gentle energy. So there's a gentleness here, I think, as well too. And I think it's saying that you would not be hurtful to this person, but you do need to find your boundaries. In fact, you may be too sympathetic sometimes, and so it's get the boundaries. That isn't hurting them in and of itself. It's interesting that Aquarius is there. The tarot card that connects to that is the Star. So there's something in your relationship that does give them hope, and it's probably mutual. Probably there's part of this that you actually find uplifting when they're not maybe in this headspace or when you were with them originally. But Aquarius is also, I often say, quite transpersonal. It's very much in the head. It's very much connected on a bigger level than necessarily the most intimate. It's about causes, and it's about philosophies and science and so forth. Its celestial body is Uranus, so that suggests change. So there's definitely change. There's something about the two of you together, and whatever this is, that changes both of you in some way. And I think for them it might be getting better understanding about emotional needs and how to deal with loss. And for you it's probably around boundaries. Whatever it is, both of you can start to set your intentions and get a clearer way through by the energy together, because you have the waxing crescent moon. So that gives self-assurance and self-confidence, but it's about planning, and it's about working out your strategies and so forth. So I think that picks up where you may be the wise counsel for them, but it's also that you will both learn from each other. So let's finish off with an oracle that has unspoken words. Sometimes it has timing, but primarily it's what hasn't been said by the other person but is under the surface for them, just to give you some final information about this relationship. Okay. I think Spirit is saying many of the people who've come here, this is an ex. I mean, we've got come back here and you've got, I'm not worthy of you, I'm ashamed of what I've done. There, I think for many, there has been a separation. You've probably chosen to do it. They're still trying to connect with you, but they also feel ashamed and not worthy of you as well. So I do think for many, this is somebody from your past, or somebody that you're with, but you're disconnecting from, and they know that. And they know that there's something about the way that they're dealing with things that's not appropriate. Now, if this is, they're looking to you for wisdom and counsel, then I think they may feel that they don't really deserve to get that wisdom and counsel for some reason. Or they could be someone who's been far too demanding on you and like that. So if you were a medium, for instance, and somebody, you were doing readings for them or connecting for them on that level, they may just be overdoing it and really draining you, and they know that they shouldn't be doing that, but they're a bit obsessive. So there's an obsessive I don't want to let go type energy, whatever this is. That's why Spirit is saying, even if there are good things between you and things that you will both learn from this, you do need to have the proper boundaries to work out what you're going to do in this situation. So it's a pretty strong energy, pile 3, and not necessarily the easiest one to navigate. So I do wish you well. I hope that it resonates for you. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you have any comments or thoughts on this, I'd be fascinated to hear about it in the comments. Beyond that, I hope to see you in future readings.